Spoilers for all of the things I am about to mention. All of She-Ra 2018, all of the Owl House, all of Gravity Falls, Lego Monkey Kid Seasons 3, 4, and 5, Ninjago Seasons 6 and 8, some Adventure Time spoilers, and Steven Universe Final Villain spoilers. Also, disclaimer, my videos include mild swearing and are preferably meant for more mature audiences. Enjoy. I want more cowardly villains. In other words, I want more villains that do a lot more manipulating rather than fighting. I want more villains who work from behind the scenes and hardly lift a finger to get what they want. Villains who are chilling behind protection and sitting on their lazy asses. So the way I'm going to format this video is going to be talking about each individual villain and their manipulation tactics, and it's going to be sort of a ranking system where I talk about the least impactful down to the most impactful. And by the way, that's not to downplay the one that I talk about first. All of them are good, but some were just better when it came to manipulating is all. So the last on the rank is going to be Horde Prime. Now, don't get me wrong, he was definitely a very intimidating villain, but I do have to point out that his manipulation was mostly a cheat. Let me explain. So, in the show She-Ra, Horde Prime seems to be a sort of perfectionist, if you will. He uses his technology to chip anyone he finds and turn them into a completely obedient zombie slave in his army. But I will say he does sort of use this cheat as a manipulation tactic when he possesses Catra and turns her against Adora. And another trick that he tried on Catra was constantly call her little sister. He is building a false sense of security and intimacy by creating this familial type of bond with her, and then pretending to be genuinely hurt when she chose to betray him. But his most bone-chilling moments are when he's able to frighten Glimmer and Catra by simply using his words. I wish I could relive that moment when Kid Me saw the scene where he tells Glimmer that the food he's serving was stolen from a planet he destroyed, basically implying that he's going to do the same to her planet. When she dropped her spoon and started shaking, I was like, oh fuck, this is the good shit. Although, I gotta say, Horde Prime did a lot more intimidating rather than manipulating. More on that in this next mini-section. White Diamond. This part is just a mini-section because White wasn't a villain long enough to have her own section. Well, an on-screen villain, that is. But I gotta admit, for having such a short-lived villain appearance, she sure as hell left an impact. Anyway, on to what I was saying before about intimidation rather than manipulation. I feel White also fits in the category of cheating rather than actual manipulation, because she too uses mind possession to fix everything into her perfectionist view. The one time that I think she actually uses really good manipulation was when she almost convinced Steven that he was actually Pink Diamond. Because to me, manipulation is when you gaslight someone into believing they have to trust everything you say, while intimidation is more what Pink was victim to. Because I don't really think Pink really fell for White's manipulation, but she had to do what White told her to do out of intimidation. You get what I mean? No? Well, I tried. On to the actual next section. Lady Bone Demon, Monkey Kid's most beloved villain, whose presence affected the main character even after her death. That's how you know she was a great manipulator. And I do absolutely love her as a villain. I had to keep her a bit low on the list, solely because she also sort of cheats? I don't know, it's like a mix of both. She has the ability to project herself into people's minds. So even if someone tried not to listen to her manipulation, they literally cannot block out her oh-so-soothing voice. What makes her manipulation even better is the fact that LBD only speaks in truth. I've rewatched Season 3 quite a few times, and I've yet to find any time where she lies. And remember, even if something ends up not being true, that doesn't mean they lied. Because to her, she believes that everything she is saying is true, and only finds out later that it wasn't. Hell, even in this scene where you'd think she'd lie, she doesn't.
Destiny cannot
be undone, so you keep saying! But what about this guy? Is he in your future?
As a matter of fact, no.
So yeah, it's honestly more impressive that she can manipulate someone with the hard truth instead of coming up with your typical villain lie. But again, I had to dock points simply because of another aspect of her power. She also has the ability to literally possess people, so it doesn't really count as successfully manipulating someone if you're just corrupting them with magic. Nadakhan is still by far my favorite villain in Ninjago, simply because he did something that no other villain had done before. Instead of fighting or sending an army after the ninja, he approached them individually to try and manipulate them into wishing it all away. If you haven't seen the show, Nadakhan is a djinn, which is basically an evil genie. He grants 3 wishes, yada yada, you get the gist. And I just absolutely love that he uses his beguiling voice to win instead of fighting. The angry and tough villains are so boring to me, because they are always the same old temper tantrum trope. So that's why I latched onto Nadakhan so quickly, because he was something fresh and new. One of the best manipulation tactics he does is twist their words when they wish for something. He uses this tactic pretty much every time he's manipulating one of the ninja, and it works every time. Well, it worked for the first 2 of Jay's wishes at least. But Jay was the only one stubborn and smart enough to not fall for the rest of Nadakhan's manipulation. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention for the Nadakhan section was that I was partly inspired by this video that made a whole compilation of his manipulation tactics, and one of them was something that they called weaponizing intimacy, where he used closeness and physical touch as a way to weaponize intimacy. And it's another manipulation tactic, and I think, yeah, just go watch the video. I'll leave the link in the description. And that's the reason why Nadakhan isn't the highest on the list. Because sure, his tactics did work on half of the characters, but not the other half of them. I wanted to also do a little mini section on the Lich from Adventure Time. He barely has any screen time, which is surprising considering the show has 11 seasons and 2 spin-offs. But anyway, I absolutely love his deep and soothing voice. It is perfect for the manipulator persona. Him being this eldritch being that has been alive for thousands of years is so perfect, because he's similar to LBD in that way, where he just simply uses truth and knowledge to gaslight people into doing what he wants. But I will say, most of it is thanks to his possession powers and commanding powers, so it hardly counts as actual manipulation. Still a great villain though. Bill mother-freaking Cipher. See, the thing I love about Bill is the fact that he uses his powers to manipulate, but doesn't actually cheat with them like LBD, Horde Prime, and the Lich do. Well, okay, yes, he does possess Dipper's body, but that's only after he successfully manipulated him into consenting to the deal. A great way of manipulation is to twist words and use white lies, because when they made that deal, Bill tells Dipper, "I just need a puppet. It looks like your sister has a collection of them." But he never actually says that he's going to use any of Mabel's. He just simply said that he needs a puppet. We didn't really see what all went on when Ford became friends with Bill, but clearly Bill's lying tactics were great enough to make Ford think that they were actually friends. It's the same thing with the Lich and LBD, where they use their galactic centuries-old knowledge to entice the naive and young mortal. I also love the deal system he has. I really love a villain who says, "Hey, we made a deal, you agreed to this, so you have no right objecting to it now." Even though they clearly twisted your words, but they're still technically right. The only reason Bill isn't top is because his personality doesn't quite fit my ideal type of villain. Chaotic villains are cool, but I like the calmer ones that don't throw temper tantrums. Emporer Belos, my perfect and ideal villain. He is the one villain on the list that doesn't use any possession or magic to trick people. He just straight up uses his priest-like nature to manipulate an entire witch country into following him for 200 plus years. And the best part is that they follow him willingly. In the early episodes of the Owl House, Willow talked about Belos with a smile on her face. It was only after Luce told her about all the terrible stuff he had done that she began to doubt him. Let's not forget his poor nephew, Hunter, who had been gaslit and manipulated his whole life. The mental damage that Belos had scarred his mind with were impressive villain work. Hunter both loved him and was scared of him. And Belos did love Hunter to an obsessed and twisted degree. And that's the best part of it. Even until Belos' death, he actually thought that he was the hero in all this. That's the best part about his manipulation, is that he actually thinks he's the good guy. He thinks that all the witches he manipulates absolutely deserves it, and that is just that is incredible writing. I'd like to give an honorable mention to Chen from Gentry Chow vs. the Underworld. I don't want to say more because it's better if you go watch it. Please go watch it. If you like Monkey Kid and Keep You on the Edge of Wonder Beast, then you'll love Gentry Chow vs. the Underworld. It has a very, like, Chinese culture theme to it, which gives the Monkey Kid vibes, but the whole vibe of the entire show, like animation and certain aspects that I don't want to spoil, give off very much Kipo vibes. So yeah, I think you'll love it. The clip that inspired this video was a part in Cory Kenton's gameplay of Dark Deception, where he talks about, how calm villains are scarier than angry villains.
Y'all ever notice how the calm villains, they really be the scariest? Like when a villain starts showing emotion like frustration, they instantly become less intimidating. Y'all remember when Kylo Ren had that temper tantrum? Soon as Kylo had that 13-year-old temper tantrum, I was like, get him out of here. Go over here.
Die!
Look at him. Die! All in his feelings, bro.
Those are my powers.
Yeah, man, look at him having a temper tantrum.
Even after all these years, that clip has just, it stuck with me. Anyway, thank you for watching this little fangirl thing of mine where I talk about my favorite villains. And, yeah, toodaloodles.
Going back. We'll hunt